Okay. Welcome to our session today on extending the Power Platform with custom code. Patrick O'Gorman is our speaker today with Kelly Kaysen monitoring the chat. And we are excited to bring you a session on how you can extend your Power Platform investment using ProDev custom code tooling. We aim to provide a digital event today that respects all individuals. We ask that everyone assist in providing a welcoming and safe environment. Next one, please. Thank you. We bring 3 of these events to our customers every month, with each taking place on Thursdays at 2 p.m. If there's a specific topic that you would like to hear about in the future, please post it in the chat now for our consideration. We're also going to have a feedback form available at the end where you can give that response as well. To minimize distractions or potential background noise today, we're going to leverage the chat for questions. Please post your questions in the chat anytime during today's session, and we will get them answered for you. Additionally, we do send follow-ups via email. These follow-ups will contain the recording and the deck used by our presenters, if appropriate. And if you don't want to be included in the follow-ups in the future, that's completely okay. Just please reply and we'll take you off our distribution list. Thank you, Patrick, for presenting on this topic today, and Kelly for your assistance as well in helping our customers get the most out of their investment in Microsoft Business applications. With that, please take it away, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks, Craig, and thanks, Kelly, for joining me today. Let's dive right into it. The title of our session today is Extending the Power Platform with Code. It's a bit of an advanced session, but we haven't really done one of these before, and so we thought with some of the changes coming around, with a lot of folks are using agents now to do a lot of their development and app building. We thought it was time to put one of these together and bring it to you. So Patrick O'Gorman. I'm a solution engineer on the East Coast there. I cover several states on the East Coast. My focus is Power Platform, but I started writing .NET code when I got out of college back in the late 90s, and .NET was still in beta. VB6 before that. As a kid, I was helping my dad build Access database applications. So I've seen a lot in technology over the years. I've been with the platform since it came about. Dynamics probably 17 or 18 years. Yeah, and based in New Braunfels, Texas, which if you have heard of New Braunfels, Texas, legitimately, go ahead and throw a show of hands out there. But I think I've met 4 of my customers who have actually heard of where I live. It's about an hour south of Austin. So I've been married to my wife for 23 years, an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old daughter. My boy Wrigley, he's the black dog in the picture there, and then of course Tilly, my daughter's dog there. And yeah, we're living a nice life down here in the hill country of Texas. So good to be here with you today, though, and let's get into the content. So learning outcomes for today. First and foremost, I want you to walk away understanding the key pro code extension points for the Power Platform. There are several of them. We have some on the client, we have some on the server. I don't expect everyone to walk away knowing how to do every one of these, especially the ones we cover today, but I want you to know about them. That way, if you're sitting in an envisioning session and you're wondering, can the Power Platform answer the mail on something like this for us, you at least know what exists. And oh yeah, I remember that guy Patrick mentioned, kind of a server-side process we could do, whatever. I'm hoping that this gives you kind of that foundation for knowing where those extensibility points are on the platform. Second, to see how Copilot tools are streamlining coding and improving productivity. The tools we have today are game changers. We used to use templates and things like that to help us really kind of accelerate the development of our apps. And now we still have those tools, but we also have our agents. And I've been working with agents now for several months, helping me build my controls and custom components, and they are definitely game changers. Learning how to develop and deploy custom code for apps, Power Apps and Power Pages to enhance the user experience. I said that on purpose because we're really going to focus on the user experience side of things today. And if there's enough, enough interest, we can certainly turn around and do another one of these sessions for kind of extending the server side of the world. I know, I mentioned here, check out new arrivals and upcoming features. I'll tell you right now, there's going to be a couple things we see today that are not in GCC yet. There's something we're going to see today that just made it to GCC. And then there's a couple things that just might be minor differences between how they're actually done in GCC and how they're done in commercial. And I'll try to point those out as we go through the deck. So yeah, let's keep going here. Okay, so your first question may be, what if I've never written code before? I get it. Sometimes I don't always get excited about extending the platform just because, of all the work that goes into setting up a project with custom code, et cetera. We mentioned the agents. We'll look at that in a second. But what if you've never written code at all before? Or what if you've never written this type of code before? Maybe you're a developer, you've got a developer background, but you've never actually written Power Platform code. Maybe you've never written TypeScript code, which is a big part of how we build components on the Power Platform. Regardless of how you move forward, keep in mind that anyone that's generating custom code for solutions that are going out to the organization need to have that custom code reviewed by someone other than themselves. Just a rule of thumb to follow. Doesn't matter if you're a pro dev, just getting started with dev, have your code reviewed. So where do you start? I like to start with Plan Designer, and now that Plan Designer has made it to GCC, I have no problem pulling it up on the slide and showing it to you all. We'll see Plan Designer in action a little bit, but you don't even have to pick a template anymore. You can start with natural language, typing your prompts into Plan Designer and asking it, "Hey, help me get started on this. I don't even know where to start. Do I need tables? Do I need apps? Here's my idea. How can you help me?" Secondly, you can use Copilot. Once you have that core plan in place, you can make refinements and configuration changes, et cetera. Before you ever commit any of those actual components or tables, et cetera, you can use Copilot to refine that stuff. And finally, GitHub Copilot. If you're, this is an advanced, kind of pro dev demo or presentation today. GitHub Copilot for you pro devs out there, for those of you who are just starting to dabble and maybe extending the platform or looking at building custom controls, even web resources, GitHub Copilot is going to be your best friend. It has saved me so much time over the last several months. I can't even, I couldn't even put a number on it, to be honest with you. All right, so we talked about different extensibility points. Let's take a look at a few of those. On the client side, we have our web resources. We've had web resources for, 15, 20 years, if not longer. Someone on my team is probably like longer, but definitely, HTML files, JPEG, image files, CSS files. We've been able to add those to our model-driven apps for a long time now. But they're very simple. They're very limited, and they can't do what something like a PCF control can do. Of course, embedded Canvas apps, taking those embedded Canvas apps and dropping them onto our model-driven apps. But now, what we're going to talk about today, of course, the PCF controls, being able to build reusable controls using different JavaScript frameworks to really make those controls pop, make your user interfaces pop, et cetera. We'll take a look at how to do some of that today. One of the biggest asks I get is how to do custom code for Power Pages. Power Pages are our website product, and a lot of times some of the things that we get natively in a model-driven app doesn't carry over to Power Pages, and so we have to implement that functionality ourselves. And it's usually some simple JavaScript, and of course, Copilot, GitHub Copilot will help you write it. The last two here, generative pages and code apps, these are the two that I mentioned that have not made it to GCC yet. In fact, at least one of them is still in preview and commercial. So hang on to your hats. It's probably going to be a little bit, but hopefully sooner than later, we start seeing those things roll out to GCC, some of that functionality roll out to GCC. On the server side, I'm not going to go over all of these because, again, we're not going to cover the server side stuff today, but you do have a lot of options there with plugins. They're used to be extremely popular, kind of like on the client side, web resources used to be. Azure Functions, we still use Azure Functions quite a bit. Usually compiled C or some other language running in Azure that you can hand processing off to. And of course, virtual tables, being able to extend disparate systems and treat those tables as if they're tables native to Dataverse and work with them in a much easier way than you would if you were accessing them remotely, so to speak. Of course, today we're going to focus on PCF controls, custom code, generative pages, and code apps. I wanted to start with a quote, though, because I'll be honest, is that we've all seen and heard all the hype around AI. AI is going to put you out of a job. AI is going to do this. It's going to do that. So as a 51-year-old guy who's been doing this a long time, trying my best to keep up with everyone around me, learning all this AI stuff, learning how to work with agents. Maybe you get stuck on something you know, that's not as cool as what they're working on, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm missing the boat here. Um, I wanted to kind of start there because a lot of times makers and regular users are like, well, why would I ever want to be able to write code? Well, you don't necessarily have to. And pro code developers on the flip side of that are saying, why do I want to mess with low code? And there's a good reason for that. And as someone who started out in pro development, I'll touch on that today. But again, whether it's a low code or a pro code project, you can always start using today's tools, some of the agents we've been talking about to really accelerate development, Planner, Copilot, way faster than you've ever seen it before. So it says here, I didn't read the quote, but AI won't eliminate jobs, it will change them. Developers will transition from writing code to overseeing AI systems. If anyone on this call, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but if anyone on the call has actually worked with it doesn't even have to be the custom code side using, GitHub Copilot. It can be just building things in the Power Platform with Copilot. Mistakes are made, and a lot of times you can go through some iteration with that agent, having it correct those mistakes, and it'll correct them on its own. Sometimes you got to just say, "Hey, stop! I'll get in and figure it out myself," and take over. So, with that said, I do rely on agents quite a bit, but I always make sure to review their work thoroughly. So, kind of like you do a code review for yourself. Another something I found interesting, AI generated code can be up to 40% vulnerable, yet novice coders are likely to trust and use with confidence. That's important because if you don't know any better and you're just like, hey, that guy Patrick told me I could just come in here and give it this prompt and deploy this control, and next thing you know, we're using it in production. No, again, code reviews, analyzing the results of what your agent gives you, both extremely important. So with that in mind, I've started worrying as I've used agents more. I've started worrying less and less about necessarily losing my job to an agent, at least maybe until I retire. So, but yeah, I like this little chart here because this kind of shows the different levels of AI transformation. And so when we look at that first level, we're talking about humans working directly with assistants. And I think of that as what I do every day. When I first get into the office, I fire up M365 Copilot. I ask it to summarize my emails. I ask it to give me a list of any action items that it sees coming up in the next day or two for me, et cetera. Especially helpful on a Monday. Human-led agents. These are things that can execute multi-step tasks, something like onboarding, where you've got checklists, accounts to set up, devices, to send in requests for devices for your new employees, et cetera. And then, of course, agent-led work, where you have a pretty fully autonomous system, maybe a scheduled something like. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead there. I'm going to go back. There we go. Oops, there we go. Agent-led work, something like a scheduled, pipeline hygiene or something like that for revenue operations or something that might run nightly. So in all of these, though, you see a common element, and that's the human element. And so keep that in mind. I don't know when agents are going to stop making mistakes or if they ever will. I'm sure they'll get better and better with time, as we've already seen. But we're going to be around for a while, reviewing their work and leveraging them to help us do our jobs better. And then I love this slide. It kind of shows, going from the basic side of the world to the complex. You've got your business users and citizen developers, a little more tech savvy makers here, and maybe a user interface, user experience specialist, and then your consultants and your pro devs. I would have taken this Copilot, this purple Copilot bar here, and extended it across the entire width of the page there. I would have also added a GitHub Copilot one there, probably for the latter two columns. But all in all, I love what this articulates, and really good slide, I think. Okay. Any questions in the chat that I'm going to check the chat here really quick that I need to address? Okay, looks like we're good. We're going to dive into PCF controls. And so this is my slide. it's my attempt to see if I could have the most obnoxiously big QR code on one of my slides. we use QR codes here and there. My boss uses them a lot, and I like them. They're very handy, but I didn't really have any other better way to design this slide, so that's how it wound up. All right, so PCF controls. We mentioned they're reusable code components. We use primarily TypeScript to build them, but of course HTML and CSS are a core part of that development as well. Allows developers to build custom user interfaces that go beyond standard controls, beyond standard JavaScript, dynamic HTML type stuff. Controls can be used across apps. You can build them specific to a certain type of app, or you can build them so that they can be rendered across all the apps, all the 3 different types of apps we have on the platform. And then here, leveraging existing PCF controls. There are galleries out there, there are repositories out there where you can go out there and kind of check out different samples of PCF controls, and even some production grade ones that you can reuse in your projects. So before you reinvent the wheel, go out there, check them out, see what's available. There are a few good ones, at least a few kind of commonly used ones, and a couple wacky ones too that I think just people were just like, hey, let me see what I can build. So, but yeah, leverage existing PCF controls when you can, build your own, or ask Copilot to build one for you. So this is the PCF gallery. A little bit hard to see, I guess, but you can see here, we're actually going to check this out live, so don't worry about squinting too much. But the PCF gallery, an example of, a model-driven app kind of interface. I think I can do this. Let me try something. Oops, go back one. No, one more. There we go. And I'm going to do there we go. How's that? A little better. Yeah. I'm trying to use this zoom it tool that's not too friendly, but so I'm gonna get out of there. But I wanted you all to be able to see a little bit better the PCF gallery, the model-driven app. And again, we'll take a look at this in the live environment, so don't worry too much about what you can't see there. The key there is there are places where you can go to get controls that are pre-built. Okay, so here we also mentioned using GitHub Copilot to build our PCF controls. So it can take a little time to do that. I think when I was trying to build one of my test controls just for this demo, I went back and forth with it for probably an hour and a half, just because it'd make little mistakes, little things I wanted changed. It didn't have some of the conditionals right that I wanted built into it. And so, I recorded it and I spliced out some of that stuff, but there's some key things in here that I want you to see as well. And so we're going to walk through this a little bit. And what you're seeing right now is a tool called Visual Studio Code, if you're not familiar with it. And right now you can see that it's in agent mode. Over here you can see build with agent mode. And down here you can see I'm starting a prompt. And that prompt, if you can't read it, I'll kick this off here so we can check it out. Should come up in a second. Oh, there it is. Oh, see. I'll just go ahead and read it because it looks like it's off and running now. So it says, hey, GitHub Copilot, and I call it GCO. Can you help me build a PCF control for a model-driven app on the Power Platform that has a single text box input control on it and a single button? When the button is clicked, it should pop up a JavaScript alert that says, hello world. Deploy the PCF in a managed solution using the Pack CLI if there is already a logged in profile when using Pack Auth. And oh, sorry, that was it. Basically, if there's already a profile when using Pack authentication, which basically is my way of connecting to my Dataverse environment, go ahead and use it. And I went ahead and set that up, obviously. And so running through this now, you can see one of the first things it's doing is it's telling me, hey, yeah, no problem. I can help you build a PCF control. And then it's recognizing the fact that if you see here, it says, great. I see we're starting with an empty workspace. Let me create a complete PCF control project structure for you. And so from there, it's off to the races. And we're not going to go through this whole video, but there are a couple things that I thought were really cool that I wanted to point out. And so around the 30-second mark here, you can see it's starting to build the project structure. You can see, you'll watch across the top, you'll see different file tabs open up. package JSON. You can already see the control manifest. It's building all these files on the fly for me. I'm not doing anything. I haven't written any code. All I wrote was that one simple prompt. Around the 1:30 mark, I wanted to point out here, I'm going to grab the cursor because we don't need to watch all this. Again, we're going to kind of speed through this. We got some other things we want to see here, but around the 1:30 mark, what I wanted to call out was it says there are errors. These errors are expected since we need to generate the types first. It's telling me, hey, I know you probably see errors, Patrick. Don't worry about them. I'm going to take care of those. Okay, I'm going to trust you. And so then the next stop I wanted to make along the way was at 2 minutes, which is going to be right about here. And you can see here now, it's actually made my PCF project structure. It's made my TypeScript control file. Talked about the errors. We already went through that. And now it's saying, hey, let me build the necessary build and configuration files. So not only is GitHub Copilot building my, my control for me, it's going to build everything I need to be able to deploy this, and something else that's really cool, test it locally. The next stop, let me see what the next stop was along the way here. I think it's 1 minute later at 3:02. And we're going to fast forward to that a little bit here. You can see everything being generated still in the agent mode over there. And then when we finally get to 3:02 here, you can see my control PCF hello world control is done. And it's saying, here's what it includes. I'm going to pause it so you guys can read. Whoops, let me go back. Sorry, I'm going to fast forward again. And it is saying here, was that is it right there? Sorry, I'm not, there we go. 3:02, it's built. And so you can see there on the right-hand side now in my GitHub Copilot, it's telling me here are the core features. Here's your project structure. Here's how it works. Go on a little further, and it talks to me about how I can actually use that moving forward. To use this control in your Power Platform environment, it gives me some tips there. So we can fast forward through a little bit of that, and I want to get to something else here where it says, if you look, it says, where's the other error here? There's one more error I wanted to show you guys. So the one error that it got right here, you can see here, it says PCF scripts. I basically tried to run this in my local mode so I could debug it. And it says, hey, PCF scripts are not recognized as an internal source, internal or external command. And so I'm like, well, okay, I don't know how to fix that. I'm new to this. And so I'm going to say, I got the error that said PCF scripts is not recognized. GitHub Copilot tells me, I see the issue. The error occurs because of this. And it goes off and it starts fixing it. I haven't written any code yet. I just keep using natural language to, encourage it to move forward and tell it what I'm seeing and what's going on. And as you saw, it already detected one of its own errors and it fixed that on its own. And now I've given it some feedback on an error I've seen. It's fixed that. And it's going to keep going. And finally, we're going to fast forward here all the way to the 5 minute and 30 second mark. And you'll see as it plays through, golly, Patrick, sorry about that. I hit my scroll wheel here. There we go. And it is done. And you can see right there, it says, it tells me, here was your issue resolution. Here's what I fixed. Your PCF control is ready. And what's really cool is if you look right here, it says visit localhost port 8080, test HTML in your browser. And you can see a test version of it and play with it there and make sure it's what you want before you deploy it to the cloud. So I'm doing that. I'm going to pull down a browser here. I'm going to put that URL in there, and there's my PCF control. And so what's really cool about it is by building it through GitHub Copilot, it not only gives me my PCF control right there in the middle so that I can start testing with it, it gives me some test instructions above, it gives me some next steps below, and then of course you can see they're working, the alert that pops up. Obviously a pretty useless control, nothing you would probably build and use in the real world, but at least it shows you, hey, we didn't do anything. We gave GitHub some simple instructions and some guidance along the way, and we were able to produce our PCF control. Any questions before we move forward? I'm going to just check the chat here, which is way over here. Okay, I don't see anything. Kelly, feel free to interrupt me if you see something though. Thank you. All right. So um, that brings us to uh, demo one. And so we're going to just jump over here. And you can see here, I'm in my Power Apps environment now. First thing I wanted to show, we talked about the PCF gallery. Just so you know, these are not official Microsoft controls. This has just become a really popular community place where people upload their controls. They're not, this is kind of just where we pull them all together and present them. Behind each of these controls is usually a GitHub repository where you can learn more about the control, who built it, how it was built, download the source code, etc. The one we looked at was the, I believe, progress indicator. You can come in here and you can, do a search. And you can see here the progress indicator. And this is actually, the progress indicator that I showed in that screenshot. You might not have seen it too well. I'll make sure to pull that up here in a second in the live environment. But then you can come down here and click download. And download will actually bring you to the GitHub repository. You can see this one's still pretty active as far as the development goes. 3 months ago, people were still making changes to it, etc. So you'll see some in there, 5, 6 years old. Probably don't want to mess with those. Maybe not 5, 6, but 3 or 4 years old. Probably don't want to mess with those too much. There's probably better ways to do things at this point. Going into Power Apps Studio, just a Canvas app, a really quick Canvas app. We just looked at that progress meter, just showing how you can use that progress meter within your Canvas apps. I've got one, dropped in a gallery, but I've also got one over here on a kind of view details form. But then also, you can use it in your model-driven apps. And of course, model-driven apps being that they kind of save in real time here, you can kind of see it change. So pretty cool. Again, I mentioned at the beginning, normally a lot of the ones you'll find in PCF Gallery are for very simple functionality. There are paid PCF controls out there that you can buy, and there are other repositories where you can download samples and things like that and play with those. So that's the progress indicator. If you remember, we also built the custom. We had Copilot Studio, GitHub Copilot build us the custom PCF control. And that's what you see right here. And so I've basically dropped that PCF control. I did a little bit of rearranging so that it was laid out horizontally. And then, I put some spacing, a little spacing and padding around it. But as far as the way the actual button is rendered and the text box, the way that it's got the rounded edges there, the radial edges there, that's all a part of the theme, part of the dynamic styling. And if you've worked in model-driven apps much, you know that you can probably tell there's a custom theme applied to this one. But yeah, so then we can just come in here and just say, hey, all, and show alert. And of course, it says, hey, all. Again, a pretty useless control, but hopefully drives the point home how you can build one. And of course, there's nothing in there. It's just going to say hello world. One thing I love about these, the way you can use Copilot to do it, it's kind of what I used to tell my customers back, 2 years ago when they were first getting started with Canvas apps. Grab yourself a template. Go ahead and build an app with a template. Who cares what it is? Just build it and then open it up in edit mode and start looking behind some of your visual components and some of your screens and things like that, and looking at that Power Effects code and looking how events are handled. Button gets clicked. What exactly is going on behind the scenes? You can build that with a template and not know anything about it, and then just kind of start going in there and poking around. And you can do the same thing with these PCF controls, especially, obviously having GitHub Copilot build one for you. Okay, let's hop back over here. Okay, so Power Pages custom code. I'm going to speed up a little because I want to make sure we get through this one. And so, one thing I'm asked to do a lot of is come in and customize Power Pages. If you've ever used business rules and model-driven apps, the front end, hiding and showing of fields based on the value of another field, that doesn't carry over to Power Pages. And so we have to go in behind, going after the fact after we've built those pages and add our own custom JavaScript. And you can kind of see here on the right, it's kind of going through some different drop downs and showing different drop downs based on the value of that program area. The code for it is over here on the left. Don't worry too much about that. We're gonna actually do our best to build that live here in a second. So the other thing that I get asked to do a lot of is building complete custom pages. And so if there's certain functionality they want built in, and ultimately it just doesn't make sense to use one of the templated pages that is inside Power Pages, available through Power Pages, we can build our own custom page from the ground up. And we're going to take a look at that as well. So we're going to hop over here to Power Pages now. We're going to give this our best shot. I always get a little nervous doing things live, especially because my machine's been acting up a little bit too. But let's check this out. This is the Power Page environment. For those of you that don't know, on the left-hand side here, I've got my pages. The pages that appear here in this main navigation are actually going to show up on top. Just so you know what it looks like live, this is obviously the Maker Studio where we edit it. Live, it looks a little bit like this. I'll go to the home page so it looks identical. Oh, it needs to wake up first. I probably should have clicked that before we started. It'll get there while we go through this other process here. But we're going to hop back over to the home page, and we're going to add a new page. And so again, I don't want to write any code. I'm feeling kind of lazy today, so I'm going to just say new page, and it's going to say Copilot pops up, and it says, "Hey, describe a page to create it." And I've got some pre-copied prompts here, so I'm going to say I need to create a page that will be used for creating new clinic requests in Dataverse. Kick that off. It's going to say, all right, well, take a moment to create this new page for you. Hopefully not too long. All right. Sweet. Okay. So not 100% what I wanted, but it's a start. Let's kind of scroll through here and look at it here. Okay, it's really kind of like a landing page to me. It looks like to me. So you can see here, it's just really, kind of some different sections, different tiles here with some buttons. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and keep it because I think it is a good landing page. But now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, look, there's some more work we've got to do. So I'm going to say, hey, let's make that start request button launch a new form for creating a new clinic request. Okay, hey Patrick, let's make sure your form is connected to the right table to store the submitted data. I know that I want to use clinic tickets, and so I'm going to select that one. It's going to work on it some more. And look at that, down here towards the bottom of the page, it has put what we call a multi-step form. It's got 2 steps, request details and additional notes, as compared to a simple form, which would only have one, it wouldn't have any tabs, just the one. So we can kind of scroll through here and look. Okay, and look here, we've got our program area, our vaccine programs. These shouldn't all be visible, right? If you remember in that little video that we watched on the slide, those hide or show based on the program area value. But this is where we need to be. We're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and just check out that next step just to make sure we're good. Additional notes, so we'll click next step. Whatever. We don't really care what's on here, I guess. Right now, we can always change it. And we're going to go ahead and say keep form. Okay, so now we want to go back in and edit. We want to add that JavaScript at this point. So I will say, I want to point out that this is one of those experiences that last time I checked was different than it is in GCC. This is done in commercial, and when I click edit code, it is actually going to allow me to open up Visual Studio Code inside of my browser. Whereas in GCC, I believe you still have to go back to the Power Pages management application and actually edit your code in the block that it gives you there to edit your code in, which isn't necessarily a problem. You can still bring those pages into Visual Studio and work on them there and then copy and paste your code into that block. But I believe that's still how it's implemented there. I'm going to go ahead and you can see here, this is my page here, and you can see I've got clinic requests. Great. That's the page itself. I actually want the form. Remember, we've got that big page, but we've also got the form. So I'm going to go ahead and enable continue so that I can enable my GitHub Copilot, because I don't know how to write this code myself. So I'm enabling GitHub Copilot. I'm also, as I mentioned, we don't want to work on the page necessarily. We want to work on that specific form. So I'm going to go over here to my File Explorer. And if you look, we've got advanced forms and basic forms. Advanced forms are multi-step forms. Your basic forms are your non-multi-step forms. Pretty simple as that. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So I'm going to go, I believe it's new clinic request 2. You can see here, it's only got 2. These are the 2 tabs, additional notes and request details, if you remember. And so we're going to open up this request details JavaScript file. This is the request. This is the JavaScript file that will load with that tab of that multi-step form. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go back to Copilot, GitHub Copilot now. And it's going to say, what do you need help with? I'm lost. And I'm going to say, I need some custom JavaScript that implements the following functionality based on the value of the OG program area field. When the program area field is this, do this. Let me expand this so everyone can see that. Sorry, there we go. And you can see, once again, my prompt is right here. And GitHub Copilot has turned around and produced this code for me. And if I think it looks good, I can simply come back up here. And again, if you were working in the management app, you could copy and paste. I'm going to go ahead and just slap it right there into our JavaScript file. You can see that function. You can see that code copied over here. I'm going to do a Control S to save it. I could have just saved it as well, but I'm a shortcut kind of guy. And then I'm going to go back to my Designer Studio where it's still telling me, hey, you're editing code in Visual Studio. Yeah, I am. Let's sync it up. I'm going to sync it up. And then I'm going to preview that by clicking preview. And I want to preview that right here on my desktop in my browser. And you can see it's going there to Clinic Request 2, which is the page we just worked on. And you can now see I can change my program area. And that one didn't work. We'll have to go back and tweak that one. You can see there was a little bug there, but vaccine programs works. VFC works. I'm not sure why provider user access doesn't work. We could ask it to fix it. I have it working in another page, so I know it must be something trivial. But we are, we've only got 22 minutes left, and I want to save some time for questions at the end, so we're going to move on. The next thing we talked about was that custom page. Here, whoops, nope, right here. This was the custom page we talked about. If we go to our doc analysis, oops, I wanted to go to it here. Doc analysis. This is a complete custom page. This page enables you to upload a PDF file and send it through a Power Automate Cloud flow that uses AI Builder prompts to analyze the document itself. First, it converts it it OCRs it so that it's got the text, and then it sends it through the prompt itself. And so we can do something like this. I'm actually just going to show it live. I'm happy to show the code as well. But if we came in here, we said something like choose file, and we go to our downloads, because that's where I know I've got an basics help guide that shouldn't take too long. And I upload that file. And if you wanted to, we could go ahead and take a look at the flow that's actually running this, because that page calls into this flow. And you can see it's actually in progress. I pull that in through an HTTP request. I actually create the file in SharePoint so that I've got it stashed somewhere. I can go back to it if I want. I do the OCR on the document itself, so I get all the text, and then I run this prompt. And it's basically a prompt just telling me a couple of things. It's saying, hey, summarize this for me. But when you return the results to me, return them to me in perfect HTML without the HTML or body tags so that I can slap it into a page and the user can see it. And so you can see here, the summary came back, and I have this nice formatted summary of the document that I uploaded. And just in case you wanted to check that out, we can do the same thing we did earlier, edit code, open in Visual Studio Code. And I will drag this back. And you can see here our doc analysis folder. And it's got 3 different files in it. It's got our HTML file. It's got our JavaScript file, which is where you can actually see, the file upload where it's calling. This is the code that's actually calling into the Power Automate Cloud Flow. And then, of course, our CSS file. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to speed up a little. Kelly, please, again, just feel free to interrupt me if something pops in the chat. But I do want to at least get this next part is pretty cool, I think. So hopefully you think so as well. So let's talk about Plan Designer, Copilot, and Generative Pages. to me, this is like the perfect concoction, along with, of course, you've heard me say it a million times, GitHub Copilot. I love starting in Plan Designer. I love refining in Copilot. And of course, generative pages, really awesome. They've got a lot of potential. I can't wait to see what we do with them over the next few months, and how people start, really using them in their enterprise solutions. So, but let's go ahead and create our app. And again, I'm going to do a little bit of a video work here just so that we can get through it. This is Planner. We've talked about it a little bit, and I'm saying to Planner, hey, Planner, build a simple event management system for me with the following features. I want speaker submission, a form, a table, etc. I'm not going to read through all of it. You can, please feel free to. Session review, communications, and scheduling management, accepting sessions, etc. For accepted sessions, etc. So I think that looks good. I know that's what I wanted because I copied it ahead of time. And so we'll go ahead and click the generate button and watch what happens. If you've never used Planner, prepare to be blown away. The first thing I want to call out, though, as we're watching this go, and I'm going to pause it really quick. Planner now has my instructions, the simplest of instructions. You saw that it wasn't too much for it to start working off of. But if you look at the top here, you've probably heard about multi-agents, agents working with other agents to get jobs done. Right across the top there, you're essentially looking at 5 different agents working to get this job done. And so you can see now at the bottom, one of those is the requirements agent. I'm going to go ahead and scan through what the requirements agent put together for me. I'm going to say, okay, yeah, that looks good. No problems. Next is the process agent. It's going to work through the different processes that it kind of detected in my instructions and my prompt. Once again, I'm just going to tell it looks good and kind of read through that stuff. And here's where it gets interesting. The data agent kicks in, and the data agent, it's odd. You'll watch videos on this and you'll see it does its best to come up with all the ideas you could possibly have in the world, and sometimes that's overkill. So what I did there was I pulled up the details for it. I don't want to commit to any of this yet. I want to review it with Planner our Plan Designer before we commit to it. I don't know what time slot is, so I'm going to remove that. Didn't ask for it. Don't need it. Event schedule. We didn't really talk about schedule. I'm not sure why it's giving me that, but I'm gonna get rid of room first since there's that relationship, and then I'll get rid of the event schedule. Thinking about it still, as you can tell. Okay. We're going to get rid of a few more things here. We're going to move things around a little, see it better. We don't need session status either. And it's like, wow, we had like 8 tables and now we're down to 2. Okay, well, sometimes it's not perfect, right? A lot of times it's just to help you get going, give you some ideas. It does its best though. And it could have been, the prompt could have probably been better as well. So as I mentioned there, I tell it, hey, Copilot, I need a session review table. What does it do? Gives me a session review table. Great. So I'm going to put that, rearrange those a little bit. Looks great. But also there's one other table I think I want. I want to tie in events to this. So I'm like, hey, add a table for events. Working on it. It makes the mistake of putting in the appointment table. The appointment is it's not a custom table. It's a built-in table. I don't want to use that. So I'm like, hey, add a table for events, and I specify not appointments. So it's doing its best, and it comes up with an events table. And I tell it, well, hold on a second. That doesn't do me a whole lot of good. Create a relationship between the session proposal table and the new event table. It's going to do that for me. I can now look at my data model, as simple as it may be. I'm good with it. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my plan after I save it. Always save it first. I'm going to actually save the plan now. You can save your plans. You can pull those plans back up later. Saving my plan, going back over to, now you can see my data model has been updated here with just my 4 tables that I want. I'm saving the solution. I'm saying to the data agent, looks good. Your job's done for now. Move along. And then the technology section is now rendering. That's going to be what apps do I want built, what flows do I want built, etc. For our demo today, we're just going to do a model-driven app, but we could certainly create any of the components that it suggested, apps, flows, etc. And so it's analyzing my plan and it's generating my technology. It's going to let me know what it looks like. Hey, it looks good. You can see, the different flows, the model-driven app, the Canvas app there. I thought I had a Canvas app, but sorry, it didn't look like it had one on that one. So now it's getting things ready. It's once again showing me my plan details. And if we're lucky, we're going to see our model-driven app. So just like that, and look at that. Not only do we have our model-driven app, but we have test data, just so that it's always much easier to understand what's going on when you have test data, especially when they build in the relationships and everything, where those session proposals actually link to an event, as you can see right there. These, anytime you see a hyperlink in a model-driven apps view, that's a relationship, a link to another record. So that's how easy it is to get a model-driven app stood up with you've got your whole schema built. You've got as you saw, we could have built some flows and whatnot as well. But let's go ahead now and look at that generative page. And this is again, I want people to start getting excited about these, because I really think this is a big part of where people are going to be building user interfaces on the platform moving forward, especially with all the agent stuff going around. So let's check that out here for a second. We're going to say add page. We're still in that same environment we were just in. We're in the model-driven app, I should say, the editor for the model-driven app. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to describe my page. And so I want a Kanban style board of session reviews with a column of each status, accepted, possible, and rejected. Let the user be able to drag and drop. I don't know if any of you have ever done any drag and drop work before on the Power Platform, but it is, especially in Canvas apps, I should say, it was extremely difficult. Scott Duro actually had built a really awesome PCF control that a lot of us were using, but it's nothing like what you're going to see here today. So, is it planned? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and tell, generative page engine there, go ahead and do your thing, kick it off. Let's see what you can do, and watch this. It's interpreting my request, identifying requirements and assumptions, and then boom, starts writing code for me. All right, app agent is finishing up. Great. And there's my Kanban board, my new page of Kanban board. And let's check it out. Whoop. Whoop. Doesn't look like it works. Okay, well, you all know what we can do here, right? The drag and drop functionality isn't quite working right. The drag seems to work, but I can't drop anything. Oh, you're right. You're right. There's a problem. Let me rewrite that for you. So it does. Once that's done, we'll get back in and we'll test it again. And voila. Excellent. Okay, so enough playing around with that. We have now built ourselves a generative page. You can see there, we're not going to do it today, but you can see there that up at the top, the code view, we could actually go in there to our code view, edit that code ourselves, React, HTML, TypeScript, etc. But let's take a look at this. Let's enhance that CSS, because that was pretty plain. Check that prompt out here. This page is awesome, but it needs some color. Can we make the accepted column some sort of green, the possible blue, etc.? It didn't get everything I wanted, because I asked it to do something with the borders and some shading as well. It didn't get everything I wanted. I tried, I think, one or two iterations, and I just kind of gave up on it. I figured it wasn't a big enough deal. I can always get in there and change the CSS myself if I wanted to. But here, something simple, like we just wanted to, color those columns according to their status. And you can see here, didn't write a lick of code, rewrote everything for me, and now I have my Kanban board with the different colors. And that's demo 3, I think. Okay, got some links in there too. I'm going to switch back to my live environment here and see we're done there. So this is demo 3. I wanted to show you all code apps. And so we've got a few minutes left. If you've never messed with code apps are our way of basically building an entire app out of custom code and being able to run that within the platform. And so the best way to get started there is this GitHub repository. Sorry, I know I'm going fast now, but I want to make sure there's at least 5 minutes for Q&A here. You've got Power Apps, Code Apps. There are 3 really good apps in here. If you clone this entire repository, you can come in here and there's this samples folder once you have it in Visual Studio. And I'll actually open it up in Visual Studio now. But if I dove into each one of these samples, there's a README file, instructions on how to use it, etc. I think I actually have it running right here. I like the Fluent Sample Code app because it gives us, this is the Fluent Sample Code app. All I did in Visual Studio Code was clone that repository and basically build the app using a pack command, and then deploy the app using a pack command. And so you can get full-fledged code apps running inside of your Power Apps environments that look like this. And this is all custom code, React, JavaScript, HTML. It's very cool stuff. I highly encourage you checking it out. I know it's not GCC yet, but maybe get a trial, spin a trial up. One thing I mentioned is that even if you don't know how to write code, if you've never written code before, start playing with it. If you have any interest and you think that's maybe where you want your skills, the direction you want to take your skills, by all means, start playing with some of this stuff. Look at what's going on under the covers. And for you pro developers out there, I can't tell you how much time I've saved building on top of this platform. It's a game changer, and I said that before I ever got my hands on agents to help me do my job for me. So with all that said, I think that is everything I've got, and just in the nick of time, I guess. So any questions, or I can stick around as long as y'all need.
All right, give me just a second, and I'll wrap this up.
Sure. Should I bring up the deck again, Craig, or?
I'll get it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Let me drop this into the chat. Just some useful information for everybody. And then stand by. Okay. Oh, the tribulations of having many windows. Share.
Well, I messed you up at the beginning when I said I'd share mine, so.
No, it's okay. That's okay. All righty. Can we see what I'm sharing here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So I did drop some useful information into the chat. In addition to that, please feel free to give us your feedback on how did things go today. There's a QR code, as Patrick mentioned. I do love my QR codes. Please bear with me/us as I proliferate this advanced technology into the community. But please let us know how it went today. If there's additional feedback you want to give us or suggestions you want to make, please do feel free. And with that, I am going to stop the recording, and then turn off the green room and all that stuff so that folks can come off mute and raise their hand. Give me just a second to stop the recording.